Before we start, read this out. I would like to inform you that this meeting is being videoed. Members of the public are entitled to record the proceedings and are requested to give prior notice so that any additional measures that may assist can be put into place. Any member of the public who has any concerns should raise their hand. So, we go to the agenda. And the first item is apologies for absence. David Minery is away, so he sends his apologies. Have you any others? No? Right. Disclosable pecuniary interest. I don't regard it as a pecuniary interest, but when we start talking on item 17 about the quarry pool, it should be noted that I am a member of Shrewsbury Town Council, who at some point in the future may or may not get involved in this scheme. You're looking at me a bit.
I'm not aware there's anything in this paper with regard to the town council and any interest they may have. But obviously going forward, if that happens, then I will have to advise someone.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
but at the moment, I'm not aware of anything.
No. Oh no, I don't.
So there will be nothing.
Okay, right, that's fine then. Right, minutes of the last meeting. Everyone happy that I signed them as true record? I see, just so we're all clear. Right, thank you. Item 4, public question times. Any public questions? No. Item 5, member questions. Right, Councillor Waddington, do you want to come forward?
Thank you. My voice is a bit flaky, so I'll do my best.
Stick the mic on, that'll help.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll help my throat. Unexpected problems have occurred with parking permit machines. On 6th February, the Shropshire Star reported problems in Bridgenorth under the headline "Outrageous 373 rise of Bridgenorth's parking permits under fire." The newspaper reported Shropshire Council as promising an immediate review. In Ludlow, the withdrawal of scratch cars has deterred visitors from booking self-catering or B&B accommodation in town. Visitors must park outside the town's edge of Gelford, leading them to walk up to 1 kilometre to their residence. We've had extensive feedback from accommodation owners that this is leading to a cancellation of bookings. In a separate issue, the new road traffic order for residents parking in the red zone and blue zone is causing problems. It's actually not yet been implemented, but it will exclude many town centre residents from having a residence permit for parking in the zone where they live. This is because permits are already available to residents in specifically identified properties drawn from a database of residents that seems to be decades out of date. The simplest approach to ensure that the applicant's household, bad background here, the simplest approach is to ensure that the applicant household pays council tax at a red or blue zone address. But that's been ignored. We need to keep the economy of a small and distant market town like Ludlow thriving. 2 reviews of the parking strategy are due. The main review will be in November, when data on the impact of the new regime will be available for a full annual cycle. The first is in May. Given the problems identified in Bridgenorth and Ludlow, could the Cabinet bring the review forward to March with a specific remit to look at the permit regime?
Okay, I'm going to ask Steve Gamble, the portfolio holder, to respond.
Andy Waddington. Councillor Andy Livingston. Thank you very much for all the questions. I've got a very detailed response for you, and I'm not going to read it all out. I'm going to let you have it. Okay. I will summarise it in that don't believe everything you read in the paper. It's not true. And the members in Ludlow are actually dealing with their the problem we've got on one of the car parks there.
No, Bridge North.
Sorry, Bridge North, dealing with one of the car parks we've got there, and we're extending the regime they've got at the moment until we've sorted it out. It is one particular car park where I think there's between 4 and 6 car parks parked. Okay. The Ludlow, all the rest of the response I've got for you are basically going to go through scrutiny in May, June. So there is a few anomalies, and we're going to bring it back to scrutiny. But apart from that, I'll bring the responses to your meeting. Is that okay?
Right. And the detailed response and question will be circulated to all members and the press, so everybody will get the whole thing. But it will be dealt with in the process of Right. Okay, so we move on. Item 6, scrutiny items. And we start with a report from the Health and Adult Social Care Overview Scrutiny. Councillor Karen Calder, you want to start?
Thank you. You have a very sort of light touch report before you, so I just want to give you a bit of background to what led us to this point. The committee received a report in November, autumn of 18, referenced proposals to disinvest from current long mandated programmes and reinvest in other programmes to assist the pressures in adult and children's social care. It was clear at that time that the scale of the financial challenge meant that the Council would be forced to reduce prevention programmes significantly if alternative proposals could not be identified. So concerned was the committee last year that it requested that another report should come to the committee focusing on specifically smoking cessation, and we also requested that it be accompanied with an impact assessment. That's also been attached, and so I hope that members of the Cabinet will have read the impact assessment. A light touch on the impact assessment tells us that there are 39,000 smokers in Shropshire. Our smoking rate is higher than, and this actually surprised me, it's higher than Dudley, Birmingham, Herefordshire, Staffordshire and Warwickshire. So although we appear to be doing quite well in relation nationally, regionally, the picture is not quite so good. On average, smokers access adult social care 9 years earlier than a non-smoker. And the estimated cost to smoking-related illness to adult social care in Shropshire is £8.26 million. Cardiovascular disease is responsible for 35% of deaths in Shropshire. And much of it is a result of lifestyle risk factors, and these include smoking and diet. All of these things are preventable. And if they don't die from a heart attack or a stroke, that then means they probably come into adult social care services at that point of stroke or heart attack. Cancer is the next most common cause of death in Shropshire. 27% of deaths in Shropshire are attributable to cancer. And a third of these are again influenced by lifestyle choices, such as smoking and poor diet, again all preventable. Shropshire is the fifth worst in the region for smoking during pregnancy. Now that's a terrible statement to have to make. And at the Joint House in January, we had a presentation from Mr. Adam Warnell, who's a consultant neonatalist at SAF, as part of the ongoing maternity update, which you'll all be aware of. And he was absolutely clear in his assertion of the link of smoking in pregnancy to stillbirths and neonatal deaths. Other colleagues, council colleagues, along with myself, we attend many other board meetings in Shropshire, whether they be the CCG board meetings, the SAF board meetings, primary care commissioning groups, And all of them, it's one of the only times I think I can actually hand on heart say that they've ever really taken too much of an interest in what is going on in local government, and maybe that is part of the problem. But they've all expressed very grave concerns about any risk associated to the smoking cessation programme. The committee was unanimous in its view that any alternative proposals, as an example, Help to Change establishing a CIC, should be explored thoroughly and not dismissed hand because of the importance of this service. We also believe that the local authorities should be working, and I know I'm telling my grandmother how to suck eggs because I know this is ongoing, but I think it needs to be said publicly, that we should be working with the CCG and the NHS Trust to ensure that smokers have access to treatment and behavioural support they need to quit. And actually, and I know I'm talking to the converted, the STP should be an ideal vehicle for promoting such strategic and collaborative approaches. I know, and we all understand the pressures that this authority is under in terms of balancing the budget. But this is just a personal note here. Just because other authorities are making these cuts to smoking cessation services, for instance, does not necessarily mean that is the right thing for us to do. And so I just feel it's beholden as me as the chair of the Health and Adult Social Care Scrutiny Committee to raise that and to highlight that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask Councillor Lee Chapman to respond.
Thank you, Leader. And thank you, Karen, for the work that your committee done and bringing the report to us today. Colleagues, both around the table and in the gallery, will have seen from the Cabinet reports presented to us today the various serious circumstances that we find ourselves in relation to our financial strategy. And I absolutely share the committee's concerns about central government's funding for public health, and also the inequality, the inequity of the share of that public health funding that we receive in Shropshire. The Director of Public Health isn't here today, but I am assured by him that we are doing everything that we can to manage our budget, and that he continues to fulfil his statutory function from a public health perspective in pursuance of that work. I see from the recommendation that Cabinet is asked to consider and ensure alternative means of delivering smoking cessation services are explored. I'm very happy with that, and I'm happy to assure Cabinet that we will be looking at every opportunity to explore alternative means of delivering that support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Unless anybody's got anything to add, I think that's the way forward. We will look at alternative ways of providing the service. Right, so can I see all those in favour of accepting the recommendation from scrutiny? Right, thank you very much. Moving on, the next item is the Financial Strategy and Innovation Initiative Task and Finish Group. I think Claire, what Councillor Claire Wiles can present this.
Thank you.
Claire.
Well, just firstly, I'd like to say a big thank you to David Turner for chairing this. We had a lot of meetings, 14 or 15 meetings. We had the portfolio holders, we had the directors, some of the directors came twice, so we gave everyone quite a good grilling. I know Roger when we came to the final report was concerned because we didn't discuss capital enough. However, at the first meeting we did lay out our stall about exactly what we were going to tackle. So I thought that was slightly unfair criticism. Just coming to the end, the conclusions of the group. I'm not sure if everyone's got the report in front of you. But it's the same message really that came from health. The impact of reducing funds for council and the added pressure of a large rural county and the inequalities of funding is obviously affecting this. We can't say it isn't. We're having to make really, really hard decisions and prioritise the mandatory services. I think the message that everyone should take away with is that there are some concerns that decisions we're making now to try and make sure we have a balanced budget may well come back and cause us some anxiety and more costs in the future. And I think everyone is aware of all those facts. So I'll stop at that and see if there's any question.
Right, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. Yet member and I and other members, we all spent a long time looking at the issues that are raised. At the end of the day, I could not support what came forward, because I don't think there was enough detail there for the actual scrutiny to recommend the budget or make any real contributions to it. It was very much on the surface. It's there before you today. First comment is that government may say austerity is over. As far as local authorities go, it isn't. It's really with us. And I recognise the position that Shropshire Council finds itself in. But there are a number of issues there which I would have liked to explore, but the information wasn't available, time involved to look at it. Digital transformation budget was down to save £10 million in the budget that you are, and we will be looking at later in the budget. £10 million digital transformation. Now it's been pared back to 1.9. No real reason why. And I heard a comment made that it's delays in implementation, and I heard a comment earlier on this week that the delay was actually staff being able to recruit staff of the right calibre and the right technical expertise to do it. When was that done? It's only recently been disclosed that the £10 million can't be saved, and there's delays. There are other things as well, and to pick one other item up, which the Task and Finish group did pick up and found today, is that in the children's there is a £717,000 reduction in youth transport. No details. And when one goes to the programme, it's the detail on what the council is being asked to agree on the 28th isn't there. So, and I used the phrase at the performance, and I don't like using it, but as a member, I'm on a wing and a prayer, saying we're being asked to agree something on the 28th of February without knowing the detail on what the effects will be. It's to save money, to deliver a balanced budget, but what does that mean for the residents of Shropshire? We heard about the cessation of smoking and the effect of that. Well, actually, for next year, we've got nearly £3 million extra that we didn't know we were having from government. £3 million from government, which could actually pay for some of the things which are down as being cut. And what are we doing? The proposal is it'll go into reserves. Is that government give us extra money? The rural grant, and there are others there, and this authority, the cabinet, in the paper considered later on, going into reserves, not addressing some of the issues which the government are expecting this council to address. Thank you, Chairman.
I don't actually agree with some of what you just said. I think the figure is we got 2 million extra in the settlement than we were expecting, but actually why we want to put that in reserves is because we're not sure what the settlement will be next year. We're in a 4-year deal at the moment, and this is the last year of the 4-year deal, and we don't know what the future holds. So we're being prudent and making sure we keep some money back, so that when we get the analysis for next year, we're in a good position. And I make no apologies for that. The government didn't send us that money and say you've got to spend it and you've got to do this, that and the other with it. And we're not going to rush out to spend money until we're confident of our financial position for the long-term future. and nobody will know that for some months yet, because the comprehensive spending review isn't going to take place till the summer, and fairer funding within local government isn't going to take place till after the summer. So we're going to be very cautious about money until we know the results of those reviews. Right, now there are some recommendations. Oh, sorry, Claire. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to come back on Roger about what he said about digital transformation. In fairness to the director, Michelle Lee, she's been to all our meetings, she spent a day with us when we were doing all this, and I don't believe that what Roger is saying is right. And so I would ask you to give Michelle the opportunity to explain to Cabinet the exact position on that one.
Okay, do you want to do that now, Michelle?
In relation to what is happening at the moment with transformation, the implementation dates they moved so that we can make sure that we have the right system in place. But there have been elements of digital transformation that have already started to deliver savings, and at the moment we are projecting a saving of 1.7 million in this year, and that is 20% of contribution to the overall total, which is now not required in the budget until next year. And in relation to staffing, I have regularly come to Performance Management Scrutiny and Audit Committee and said we have had issues around recruitment, to the point where in the summer you will recall that we had students in to come and support us. Thank you.
Okay. Steve, Councillor Steve Charnley next, then
Thank you, David. And just echo what Michelle has said. I've been to some of the task and finish groups and audit and various committees saying exactly the same thing. The implementation has taken longer than expected, but I've been consistent with what I've said. I said I would rather extend the period of time it takes to implement it and get it right first time rather than revisit it and it costs us double. The savings will be delivered as part of this scheme, but it will be over an elongated timescale, which match our budget needs now.
I think that's what we've been doing on all things. We take a bit longer, but we do it properly rather than rushing in and do it when we're not ready. Alan?
I pressed the wrong one. I was pressing the left rather than the right.
So make sure they're all the switches are on the right.
I'll be happy for a lifetime, but there we go. I welcome this scrutiny report, task and finish report, and thanks to David and the members who have put a lot of time and effort in compiling it. Clearly, it's part of builds up more of a picture to what's been going on in this authority, and obviously at this time of the year we come along with the budget and tend to have a go at the council and the government, and whoever sat in your seat has tended to defend what's been happening on part of the political scenario, and then occasionally people have actually harked back to pre-2010 days and talked about deficits and financial collapse and that sort of thing, ludicrously. But I don't have to do any of that, or we don't have to do any of that, because all that criticism is, and all those stark warnings about what's gone on in this council and and the dire consequences of policy that faces this council in the future is here. And actually, the chair of the scrutiny alluded to that on page 16, the conclusions of the group. The impact is getting worse, increasingly clear. The evidence of the increasingly hard decisions, cuts, and having to cut services in favour of the mandatory ones, and then obviously the unintended consequences, the difficulties that have been stored up by the cuts and by the reduction in services for future years, not for the council, that's irrelevant, but for the people of this county and the most vulnerable people who are most in need of the services that are diminishing. So thanks to the scrutiny, I really do, as this has come from a group of people who are largely predominantly supportive of the political regime that runs this council and runs this country. Thank you for that. It confirms what we've been saying, and it confirms the dire straits that this council and councils throughout the country and the people who are residents are facing.
The only thing I would say in that is both our children's services and our adult social services get really, really good reviews from government. We do deliver excellent services to the very people you're talking about. And we do face challenges, all the Shire counties do, and I'm hoping in the fairer funding review, and the indications are that it may happen, that money will be moved from the metropolitan areas, and certainly the London boroughs, who seem to do extremely well at the moment, to the Shire counties like Shropshire, and we will get an increase in funding in the next years to come, because we are underfunded compared with the metropolitan areas, and I think everybody accepts that. And it causes us challenges, but we will deal with the challenges as we get to them. But don't ever think that we're not providing really, really good services to children and adult social services in Shropshire. Right, there are some recommendations, A and B. Everyone happy with them? Can I just see? Right, those are approved then. Thank you. And then the next one is the report from the Meeting Housing Needs Task, the finished group.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to council, is it?
Yeah.
I was going to say I didn't think I'd seen it anywhere.
No. That is going to council, and I urge everyone to support it. It's a good report.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, so we don't need to discuss that at all then. So we move on. Item 7, Financial Monitoring Report, Quarter 3. David Minery is away, so I've got the job of presenting all the financial reports. But I am going to just sort of pass the buck a little bit and look to James Walton, who is the expert on finances, just to sort of give a quick summary on each one as we go through. So, financial monitoring, Quarter 3.
Yep, so very quickly, this is the usual monitoring report that comes through each quarter. As at quarter 2, we had a significant overspend with projected management action to try and bring that overspend down. As at quarter 3, following a decision at council to approve an updated financial strategy for this year, it now means that we're projecting an overspend on revenue of £72,000. Which basically means we're looking at getting close to very close to a balanced budget by the end of the year. There are a number of changes in relation to the capital programme as well that are all set out within the report, but they're the main headlines.
So in view of the size of our overall budget, we're more or less there as a neutral budget. Yeah. Right, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman. Agree, neutral budget, a slight, it's a lot different to where it was in quarter 1. But when one looks at the figures, we see that 3.3 million out of the 15.5 million listed as savings was not delivered. That's around about 21%. We're at the neutral budget because management, by whatever means, took action last August in putting a spending freeze and a recruitment freeze in place. That saved 6.9 million. Without that money, this council would have been well overspent. There are still amber savings being shown in it of 1.2 million still there. And if one looks through it all the way through, ICT, I see in the it was down again to save £1 million, and actually it's well below that. £830,000 was not saved. So there are some underlying stories in this which really need to be looked at and taken on board when we're looking at the financial budget for next year, because this council has failed to deliver, quite honestly, there. And it's only because of the one-off savings and the management action which was taken 5 months, 6 months into the financial year. So for half this financial year, it was noted that the council were not able to deliver the budget that was agreed last February, and there was an emergency action taken place recruitment freeze, procurement freeze for 6 months. That will happen in April when that is lifted and all the vacancies start to be filled for next year. I can see it happening again. Thank you, Chairman.
And I think you're probably right. It happened last year. I think that's just the nature of local government, that's the way it tends to work, and that's the way it is. I think we've done extremely well to get to a neutral budget situation, and I would congratulate both the members and the officers on the fact that we've got there in difficult circumstances, as has been acknowledged. Right, I'm not going to let you come back. You've had your chance. Anybody else got any comments? The recommendations are on page 6, but I think it's an excellent situation in view of all the circumstances, and I'm happy to move them. And they're seconded by Councillor Steve Charnley, so I can see all those in favour, please. Right, thank you. Item 8, Financial Strategy 2019-2020. James, again, I'm going to look to you to start.
Okay, so this is the updated financial strategy report. A previous report was taken to Cabinet in the end of November and has since been out to consultation. So this report just provides an update on that position. It takes into account the provisional and final settlement which came through following the Cabinet report we produced in November. That settlement provided additional funding in relation to Rural Services Delivery Grant, New Homes Bonus, and a little bit extra money from the Business Rates Levy. That funding has been taken into account in relation to this financial strategy. There was a requirement for the 1920 financial year for up to £6 million of reserves to be used to supplement the £18.5 million worth of savings that have been identified. Obviously, with the slightly better settlement, this has allowed less of that reserve to be used to balance the budget, which leaves slightly more available for the 2021 financial year, where a funding gap still remains and is, as has been referred to earlier, the first year of a new local government settlement approach, which at the moment we don't know what the implications of that will be. So the consultation is still open and will remain open until a few days before Council, and an updated position in relation to that consultation responses will then be included in the report to enable Council to make that final decision on the budget position. But overall, we have a balanced position identified for 1920 with just over £2 million worth of reserves to be used, but over £20 million worth of one-off funding from the government, which is not guaranteed for the following year.
I think part of the confusion with our finances is the fact that the government has moved to a situation where a lot of the money they send us is in one-off pots rather than as part of the big grant, and that's where we aren't sure what we'll get next year, and the government haven't been clear what those pots will be after this period of settlement, and that's why we need to be cautious in our approach. And the other thing that is noticeable, if we're talking of a budget of £592 million, which is not dissimilar to this year, and we end up £72,000 out this year, you know, that's pretty well neutral, and we're doing pretty well. So I do think we're in a good position. Right, the recommendations are on page 32. Oh, Roger.
Thank you, Chairman, for letting me speak. On the council overall budget, yes, but the actual council budget which it has control of is just over 200 million, because there's the schools and all the other things which are encompassed in it. So we're looking at, and yeah, the council is delivering a balanced budget. But I note, and again I referred to it earlier on, about the extra money government have given this authority for next year, which includes 1.3 million Rural Services Delivery Grant. We complain about delivering services in rural areas. Government has given us extra money, and what are we doing? We're putting it into reserves for 2020, 2021. Are the government going to give us money again for rural delivery services because of it? If one looks at page 37, we are putting over £5 million into reserves this year. £5 million, and we're making drastic cuts all over the place in order to deliver the budget. Is this what a caring, open, transparent authority should be doing? To me, no. We should be actually helping our people, making pleas to government, using our MPs to say the fairer funding for 2020-21 should be there, but stacking up our budget just in case. We need to start looking at what we're spending our money on. And I repeat earlier on about, I could pick out various items in it. And I'm sorry with Karen, but 717,000 children's budget there, down to be cut. Details not there. In the consultation paper, it makes reference that it's going to the January Cabinet. It was on the forward plan, and it got pulled. And I was told it was going into the February budget. Now, I can't see it in the forward plan for February. I might be making a mistake, but in the published forward plan, I might be wrong, but I'd be glad to actually see how that is coming through. I've got the February plan here, which has been published. I can't see it on it. So, will we see it? When will we see it? And there are a lot of other cuts that are being made there with no detail, nothing at all. It's just showing it. And I repeat, members will be asked on February the 28th to take everything on faith and really to go on a wing and a prayer again. We've got to take on faith what is being shown as the savings and the cuts that are being made for next year and agreeing to put £5 million into reserves.
Or we could do what you want to do, the Liberals, and bankrupt the council. And that's the alternative. And we will not be bankrupt in this council. We will be taking a very slow and steady approach to money. And we're not going to go rash and go and spend all the money the minute it comes in. I think Councillor Nick Bardsley wants to comment on the children's services.
Thanks, Peter. I think Councillor Roger Evans was actually at the Task and Finish group when we had a discussion. A very large part of the Transform savings are being achieved as we speak by efficiency, better management, etc. There is a part of the savings that requires policy changes. There is a draft report in existence which I'm discussing with the Director, and that will come to Cabinet in a fortnight's time on the day before Council. And that will require a period of consultation, of course, as you would expect. The report will be coming to Cabinet in 2 weeks' time.
Okay, right, thank you. Right, anybody else? Right, the recommendations are on page 32. I'm happy to move them. And they're seconded. Can I see all those in favour, please? Moving on, item 9, capital strategy 2019-20 to 23-24. Sorry, James, I'm going to work you hard today.
That's fine. Okay, so the capital strategy report is a new report for this year. It's now a requirement that each local authority produces a capital strategy, and that needed to be in place and approved by the 1st of March 2019. So this is going through Cabinet today, and then we'll go on to Council at the end of the month. The capital strategy, its purpose is to expand the capital programme and look at the future, further into the future, ideally 10 to 20 years into the future, in terms of what the approach is for the local authority in terms of its management of assets, its requirement for funding and borrowing in relation to large schemes and projects, and, as I say, capital assets. So the programme, the strategy itself is set out as an appendix. This is our first draft of this. It's the first attempt to hold this together, and it is very much a live document and will continue to evolve and change as time goes on. the majority of the strategy itself sets out the way in which we manage the programme and manage the way in which we're going to consider investment into the future. And the section at the end, section 10, then talks about the initial proposals we have for future investments schemes that are kind of drawn up to a degree at the moment. At this point in time, there's around about £290 million worth of schemes identified within those future schemes, and there are assumptions around how that would be funded, either through potential borrowing or capital receipts. So it's important to understand the implications of that, which then feed into the financial strategies in the future, so that as a local authority we have that longer term view of where we are going. But it will be updated and changed as the year goes on, and as a minimum, every February this report will be coming back to identify the position for those future years at that point in time.
One of the things that's in the report on page 33, because something that gets commented to me quite a lot is there's a lot of house building going on in Shropshire, and people say, what are you doing about the schools? But if you read this report, it's quite clear we are extending lots of schools, we are spending lots of money on schools, and we are catering for the increase in children in parts of the county. It's a strange thing, but in other parts of the county the numbers are declining, but in parts of the county where there's a lot of house building, they are going up, and we are actually investing, well, £11.5 million on this budget in improving schools, extending schools. So we are building the infrastructure that will go with the new housing around the county. Right, I'm sure there's some recommendations. I've lost them. Where are they? Page on start of the report. Anybody got any? Oh, Roger, do you want to comment?
Yeah, it's going to council, so most of the comments will be made at council rather than and it's a question. Street lighting.
You've actually turned your mic off, not on.
A lot of the report will be going to council and we can discuss it rather than repeating it now. But a question, and it's a constructive question, and that is street lighting. Is it one of the projects which is coming forward? Many of our neighbouring authorities have actually completed all their street lights into LED. I see in the financial monitoring report, energy costs are above what we budgeted for, and it's costing more money. Now, I'm being told that the fluorescent lights will be last orders are in June, delivery is in November, and there'll be no more made after that time. And we've got quite a few here. Can save money. I put forward, others have put forward various schemes in capital to show a good return. Is that being looked at?
Yes, and I'm sure Councillor Davenport can tell you more.
Yes, Roger, I don't want to say much more now because I'm waiting for a grant to be approved to replace our 16,000 lamps that we've got in the county that haven't been done. We've got 19,000, 3,000 done, another 16 to go. We're very close on having this grant approved, and I'm hoping that will be completely delivered, all changed within the next 3 years. A saving of £1.5 million a year on energy.
Okay, right, so it's been looked at. Right, so the recommendations are on page 1 of the report. I'll move them. Yep. Right, everyone happy? Can I see it? All those in favour? Right, thank you very much. That was the capital strategy. Now we move on to robustness of estimates and adequacy of reserves. James again.
Thank you, snappy title, but this report comes along every year. Again, it's another requirement that we produce this report. It's basically made up of 2 parts. One is looking at the way in which the local authority provides its estimates of expenditure and income over each financial year, and sets out the basis on which those estimates are made and the implications of the way in which they are drawn up. In addition to that, we then have the second part of the report, which talks around the adequacy of reserves. So this takes risk-assessed look at the local authority and the future, as far as we can tell, and then tries to quantify whether the level of general fund balance that is held by the local authority is in line with the assessment of the risks that have been identified. As a result of that, the risk assessment at the moment suggests that we should be holding around about £20 million in general fund balance. At the moment, the value is below that, around £15 million, but at this point in time, we are not recommending that we increase that general fund balance, but that we continue with the £15 million that is there at the moment.
And just so there's no confusion, we do also have earmarked reserves in a separate account. It is separate money altogether, so we have got money. Right, there are recommendations on page 55. It's quite a technical paper, this one. I did try and read it, but it's hard to digest it all, so I'll leave it to the financial experts. But I'll move it. Councillor Chalmers seconded. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Item 11, fees and charges. I'll look to James again, but I think it's pretty straightforward as a report. Unless anybody's got any, unless you've got anything particular, it's a pretty standard report. Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I do note in the fees and charges that on page 6 of the report, I think it is, I'm not sure they're correct.
Yeah.
When it shows it by service area, it might be page 78.
Yeah.
In the report there by service area, I see that the adults increase is going up by 15%. The total income that is doing that, and if one looks on the other page, you'll see on page 79 that a lot of it is because of the minimum income guarantee that this council, the cabinet, has actually chosen to lower the minimum income guarantee for adults, pensioners to pay, and in essence what it's done is increase the income for this council by 15%. Should we be doing that? No, we shouldn't. I've argued long and hard the minimum income guarantee, instead of going down, should actually go up. So pensioners are having a pension increase, all their increase, plus more, is being taken off them by this authority in payment of services, if it is so assessed. And I know it's subject to assessment, but it shows the sort of increases that this authority is imposing on a part of society which we should be helping.
Councillor Lee Chapman.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Roger, for the opportunity to clarify the situation with minimum income guarantee. I think we need to be clear here, Roger. The level that's been set is the level that's been set by central government. So Shropshire Council has aligned its level with that and with the advice we've got from central government, and that's been our consistent policy. But you seem to be implying in some way or other that we're disadvantaging individuals by setting the level that we are. That couldn't be further from the truth. Anyone who is assessed as having support needs for an adult social care provision is assessed for those needs and also assessed for their financial ability to contribute to that service. And those that are least able to make a financial contribution do not have to make a financial contribution to their care and support needs. Indeed, those with the least to contribute make no contribution whatsoever, and the local authority pays for all of their care and support needs, and I would not want to see it any other way. So thank you for the opportunity to point that out, but I wouldn't want anyone thinking that in some way or another we're removing support from those most vulnerable, because that is not the case. Thank you.
Right. Any other comments? Right. I'll move the recommendations, which are on page 74, and they're seconded. So can I see all those in favour, please? Thank you. We move on now to item 12, estimated collection fund outturn. Look to James again. That looks pretty straightforward.
It is. I'll just give a very brief introduction just to say that the collection fund is estimated every year. This is for council tax and business rates, and this year there is an overall collection surplus of just over £3.1 million. This is then distributed depending on whether it's council tax or business rates with major resetting authorities and with central government. Those shares then are based on various calculations. When it comes to the business rates, the calculation for Shropshire Council takes into account the number of renewable energy sites that we have in the county, and 100% of that is retained within the county. So what that means is that although there was a surplus on council tax and a deficit overall in relation to business rates, Shropshire Council gets a share of the surplus on council tax, but also retains a surplus in relation to business rates because of the renewable energy sites. And so therefore, the remainder of that deficit gets shared between the major resetting authorities and central.
Right, thank you. Clear as mud. Yeah, sorry, it's a very difficult area. I mean, is it fair to say that some of the extra, this 3 million, is because of the rate of house building in the county?
It'll be a number of factors that are taken into account. It's around collection rates across the whole. So there will be assumptions around the levels of appeals, around the level of collection taken. There'll be estimates around the changes that were made to the policies last year. All of those are estimated, and then there is an assumption around what level of council tax that will be. As it is, we've collected more in than we anticipated. That is one of the factors, but there's a whole series of factors.
So the percentage that we've actually collected in has gone up? Yeah, right.
Compared to our estimate.
Yeah, right. Roger.
Congratulations on the efficiency of collecting it, but I make the plea every year, and that the parish and town councils, which are an important sector, they get none of this. I know the technical reasons that are put forward, but the Shropshire Council, the police and the fire authority get it split up, but the parish and town councils get nothing. And this council a number of years ago did take a large sum of money away from parish and town councils, but they're there, and that all they get is they do not get any bonus from the efficiency of collection or anything.
Right, there are some recommendations on page 141. I'm happy to move them, and they're seconded. All those in favour, please show. Right, thank you, that's clearly carried. Treasury management update, item 13. James, anything to say on this?
No, only to say this is the Q3 report, so obviously each report comes through each quarter. The turn during the quarter was 0.84%, which was just over 0.25% above the benchmark. Obviously there's been a benefit when earlier in the year the base rate was increased, but with no further base rate increases, we would expect that level of return to increase significantly between now and the end of the year.
So it's better, but it's still not as good as we, in an ideal world, want. I'm happy to move. I can't think there'd be much to say on it. Right, that's seconded. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Where are we next? Treasury strategy, page 167. And the recommendations are over the page on page 168. Well, comment on it, James, or is it pretty straightforward?
The only thing I would say is that this is the report that's taken every year, sets the Treasury strategy for the next financial year, identifies the potential borrowing requirements and all of the calculations and indicators around that. And obviously this year we've aligned it with the capital strategy report as there's a requirement to now do that.
So if we accept the recommendations, it says here recommendations to Cabinet and recommendations to Council will be accepted in the whole package, and then the report will go to Council.
So you'll accept the recommendations to Cabinet, and then the same report will go on to Audit Committee and to Council, and they will accept their recommendations as part of, well, hopefully they'll accept their recommendations as part of those meetings.
And that's the process, yeah. Right. Okay, happy to move, and that's seconded. Councillor Barnes. Oh, right. Oh, you're ahead of me. Right, all those in favour, please show. Right, thank you. Right. Right, we move on from money to far more important things. Determination of admission arrangements. Councillor Nick Bardsley.
Thank you, Lee. This is a requirement that comes to Cabinet every year. We have to determine our admission arrangements before the end of February, so that's the report that's before you. It hasn't changed a great deal from previous years. These are the admission arrangements for the forthcoming year, so it's from 2021, not for the current year. We consulted on a proposal made by the Minister of State for Schools actually quite some time ago in December 2017, which was that priority should be given to children who are adopted from outside England. The report actually says overseas, but it should be outside England, which of course includes Wales and Scotland. So overseas isn't correct. The requirement, or rather the report should say that we should give equal priority to in providing school places for children adopted from outside England. I'm sorry, it's a very technical matter, but important nonetheless, Leader. We did consult. There was only one respondent. We consulted between the 12th of December last year and the end of January, and the details of the respondent's objection are in paragraph or in section 5 of the report. Again, a fairly technical point. I think the other thing that's worth saying, you'll see in section 6 of the report a long list of schools which have already adopted these proposals. They are schools that determine their own admission arrangements, the academies of course, but church schools which are the bodies that determine their own arrangements. So this is bringing the remainder of our schools into line with that, if Cabinet agrees.
Okay. Right. Any comment? No. Right. So you're going to move the report?
I'd like to move the recommendations in paragraph 2.
Right. Okay. I'm quite happy to second those. All those in favour, please show. Right, thank you very much. It's clearly carried. We move on. Item 16 is managing highway risk. Councillor Davenport.
This is a continuation of our managing highways at risk, and this is in two parts for two very different reasons. The first being our anti-skid, our skid checking process, which is this report builds upon previously approved reports presented to Cabinet, such as winter maintenance and implementation of risk-based approach. The first part is the all routine skidding resistance survey, which we have to do on all our roads every year. It's called the SCRIM, Sideways Force Coefficient Routine Investigation Machine. We have to do this, and probably actually this is the point where it sometimes answers questions I get. Well, that road is really good, there's no potholes in it, so why have we resurfaced it? This is another reason why we do it, because the skid problems on these roads are very high, so we have to resurface them to reduce that. So that's another one of those reasons. So again, as I said, it's in two parts. The second part, again for very different reasons, was introducing from our insurers, not from no other reason, the depth of intervention of potholes from 25 mil to 40 mil. This is bringing us in line with more or less the rest of the country, where the councils are between 40 and 60. We've opted to go with our insurers for the lower size, because we have a real problem with our insurance companies actually wanting to defend us, our even insurers, so we've had to bring it up to this 40 mil. You know, it's not something that we wanted to do, but again, it's been taken out of our hands. I'll take questions.
Right. Any comments on the report? There are recommendations on page 244, a paper copy. It's an item 2.1 and 2.2. No, everyone seems happy. Okay. So all those in favour, please show. Right, that's clearly carried. Thank you very much. And then the last item, item 17, is the quarry pool swimming provision in Shrewsbury. Councillor Leslie Picton.
Thank you, Leader. Something like leave the best to last. I make no apologies for the time that it's taken me to get this report to Cabinet. We've had to look at a lot of things in that time, but I'm delighted to say that this report basically allows us the opportunity to press the button on the quarry swimming pool and fitness centre future. Following the Cabinet's decision in 2017 that the swimming pool would remain in the town centre, we've undertaken a huge amount of site analysis. You can find that detailing in appendices 1 and 2. And we have now agreed that the best site for the new facility is in the Quarry Park. To determine whether it's a rebuild or a refurbishment, we will now need to undertake further work. I have to state, in my view, a new build is the best option. However, nothing is ruled in or ruled out. This also gives us the opportunity to look at a wider footprint, which could be include additional uses, office accommodation, meetings, conference rooms, educational use and community uses. As I've said, nothing is ruled in, nothing is ruled out. The next stage of our work will be to work with leisure and health specialists to determine the exact nature of the provision. We will also have to undertake a number of site-specific surveys, ground conditions, etc. And we will also need to investigate alternative swimming provision while demolition work and building work takes place. It is likely that the quarry swimming facility will be closed for quite a significant amount of time, and we can't leave Shrewsbury without a swimming pool. I think the most exciting part of this for me is because of the site itself. The new building will need to be very special, and due to this fact we are actually going to be launching a design competition to bring in the very best architects to look at just how that facility can complement the Quarry Park. I might be speaking out of turn, but I don't think the current facility currently does that. This is our opportunity to provide a 21st century facility whilst acknowledging, as I said before, the historic and beautiful setting that the Quarry Park is. I look forward to bringing the next report to Cabinet in the early autumn. I can feel officers' tension as I say that. And I especially look forward to buying you a coffee at the new facility in 2 to 3 years' time. Thank you.
I hope you're right. 2 to 3 years sounds quite ambitious, but...
We are ambitious, Leader.
Yes. Right. Councillor Mosger, I think was first then.
Yeah, just
There's a question button. The right hand one.
Right. Didn't enjoy that much. I mean, your opening remarks about the town council. I'm also a member of the town council. I'm just going to say something about the town council because I would hope that in the areas, and we've already had previous discussions, in the areas of consultation and discussion, I hope the town council would be involved in that as the owners of the quarry, and everything that is outside the current class now. We hope that is productive. In saying that, I welcome the decision about the location. Clearly, that's in line with what most people want, and also the local council's policy. It does say, though, that on recommendation B, that you have discussions with the operator. Does that mean that the operator will continue to be the contract holder for this business and the leisure business within the county, or have they got to go for renewal of that contract sometime with a procurement process in place?
Happy to answer that, Leader. We have to have discussions with the operator because they currently have a contract on the building. And we are going to be closing it at some point. So we will be going out for a tender in the future for the new facility because the contract, I believe, finishes in 2022.
That was my question. What's
Yeah.
the time for that?
Yeah, I mean, the timescales actually work quite well, to be honest.
So, despite all those welcoming issues, and great that this decision is moving forward, I am a little bit concerned, though, about the paragraph that's on page 303, which is page 9 of the actual report. And it's the one that is under review of options, future provision in Shrewsbury. And it actually does say the decision on whether to go ahead with improved swim provision in Shrewsbury will be taken in the line of Shropshire Council's financial strategy and indoor leisure facilities strategy. And it's still going to be subject to assessment of that and other considerations. So we need to be quite clear and open with the public and users and all stakeholders that this isn't a go-ahead for a new facility. It is merely an investigation, and that there is that rider surrounding that paragraph that it may, at the end of the day, still not happen. So people need to be aware of that potential and adjust their expectations and their activities to take that into account.
I intend that this will happen. I'm sure Councillor...
That's fine. All I was going to say was that I wouldn't be able to do any of this without it going via the financial strategies. But like the leader has said, I'm absolutely committed to this. This is going to happen. It's just a matter of, it's a bit chicken and egg. I need to work out exactly what that provision is going to cost before we ask for the monies. There's no point asking for the monies if we don't know what that facility is going to cost. I'm absolutely committed to this.
Roger, I think you wanted to.
Yeah.
Welcome the report, and I think there's cross-party support for the building in Shrewsbury. It's what we all want. And I noticed that in the recommendations it's taking you forward. What I would be asking is that can we, like we've done in housing, and we've taken the politics out of that and we're moving it forward, and I would hope that we can all back that report when it goes to council. But looking at this and the involvement in it, it would be good to get the cross-party working in this to try and take it forward together, because we need it, we want it, the community want it. Let's all work together and deliver what they want. And to do that, we can all work around the table together.
I don't see any politics needed in this. This is, I think everybody agrees this is what we want to do. It is now just how we go forward. I'm sure we can arrange sort of a working group or something so that everybody's updated as we go along.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right, so there are recommendations on page 296, and I'm sure Councillor Picton will move them. And I'll second it. All those in favour, please show. Right, that's clearly carried. Right, thank you all very much. Not too bad, considering it was quite a heavy duty meeting.